Howdy, I'm Katie Gilman with INST Channel 210 News. Thank you for joining us today on April 20th. Today's pressing issue is the unemployment and underemployment that adults with disabilities face. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2016, 17.9% of people with disabilities were employed. In contrast, the percentage of employment is higher among people that do not have disability at 65.3%. Some challenges that people with disabilities face are transportation, lack of education, experience, or training, difficulty completing work duties, and requesting a change in the workplace and accommodations. So in 2012, a study by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics found that more than half of those with a disability report facing some type of employment barrier, including lack of education or training, lack of transportation, and the need for special features at the job and person's own disability. These challenges affect people with disabilities by making it difficult for them to get and keep a job. In terms of transportation, people don't always get to work on time. This can be something especially difficult for people with a physical handicap. For lack of education, experience, or training, adults with higher levels of education and greater prior work experience are much more likely to increase work, either by doing work easier or by increasing the stability of work after entering the labor force. Some adults have difficulty completing work, which results in requesting change. This need for accommodation limits employment prospects among adults with disabilities. So our current event of the day is a relatively new program known as Project Search, which has started being implemented over the past 4 years. This program is one that starts while students are still in high school to help them develop skills for the future workforce. Here's Lindy with more on that.
Thank you, Katie. So yes, some positive trends that are surrounding the topic of adults with disabilities and underemployment is the Project Search. So basically, Project Search is a program that has been going on for about 4 years now, and it assists students with disabilities starting in high school. So the basis of this project is that we're gonna get our kids while they're younger and build them up so we can get a head start with them in trying to get employment. Another positive trend surrounding this is the Down Syndrome Association. And so again, this is just another program that is trying to get adults with disabilities into the workforce. To do more research on this topic, I thought I'd go to the Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living and ask them some questions about what they do. The first thing I started with was, what challenges do people with disabilities face? And most people would probably think, oh, well, they have disabilities, so it's harder for them to get to the workforce because they can't do things as easily. But in fact, it's not like that. You see, these adults that have disabilities, they can learn social skills, and they can learn interviewing skills, and they can learn the skills that they need on the job, but it's much more difficult for them to retain those skills. It's more difficult for them to go into an interview and be confident than it is for people without disabilities. So that's one of the challenges that they face. Another challenge that they face is workplaces are a lot more hesitant to hire these people. It is much more of a risk to them per se than it is to hire an adult without a disability. So this is something that definitely holds back adults with disabilities from being able to be employed. What's hard is that these people need on-the-job training. They need to be in the situation to learn. They don't learn as well in classrooms. They need to be doing it. So this affects people with disabilities because it prevents them from getting jobs, and that's why our percentages of adults with disabilities and being employed is so low, and that's where our problem comes in. What Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living does is they take these people and they take these adults and they work with them. They work with them in one-on-one settings, they work with them in group settings, and it's these sets of extensive job training to help these individuals become active and successful members of the workforce. When I was interviewing the people at Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living, I asked them what is important in education and starting early on when it comes to these individuals. And what they told me is basically that parents need to be educated from the beginning. So often we have students with disabilities grow up just trying to get along, and trying to learn little skills and little things because no one's thinking about the future for them. But in fact, the Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living says that needs to change completely. Instead of just trying to get them along in their younger years, we need to be thinking about the future from the get-go. Parents need to know what their options are, what their choices are, what kind of things they can do to get their kids ready for employment, because that's the long-term goal, is getting these kids and eventually adults to be independent and live by themselves. And so that was the number one thing that they focused on, was starting young and getting that education early on so that it would be easier to learn more as they got older. Thank you, Katie. Back to you.
Thanks, Lindy. Now I'm going to hand it off to Mary Gherkin, who interviewed PATH's program coordinator Tracy Glass about the matter. Mary?
Thanks, Katie. I spoke with Ms. Tracy Glass, who is the program coordinator of the PATHs program here at Texas A&M. The PATHs program is a post-secondary training program that helps individuals with special needs develop the skills necessary to become independent employees. She said of the program, "We train them for a career, not just a job, where they can feel independent, fulfilled, and live a good quality life on their terms." While speaking with her, I asked Ms. Glass what she felt was the biggest challenge that individuals with special needs face when trying to enter the workforce, and how these challenges impact them. She said that the discrimination against these individuals is a major issue. Employers often fail to see the people with disabilities as someone that is willing and able to be productive citizens in the workplace and in the community. This stigma often prevents these individuals from being able to find competitive employment, which forces them to continue to rely on government assistance rather than becoming independent and self-sufficient employees. I also asked Ms. Glass if she had any ideas of what our education system could do early on to help students with disabilities be better prepared to face and overcome these obstacles. She said that she feels the education system needs to focus more on the end goal of employment for students. She told us they need to work on helping them use assistive technology to help them overcome hurdles, rather than providing someone to perform the work for them. Ms. Glass said that once these students graduate, they must be able to self-advocate and do the things that they have to do on their own, because they will no longer have someone there to do it for them. She feels that the schools need to push students out of their comfort zone and challenge them more. She said that occasionally letting these students struggle is good for them and teaches them problem-solving skills. We also asked Ms. Glass about any positive trends surrounding this topic. She said that right now Texas A&M's PATH program is the only one of its kind. While other programs provide a college experience or career exploration, our program actively trains and equips students with disabilities to enter the workforce and be successful. As our program continues to successfully help students with disabilities find careers, they are catching the attention of universities across the nation. She believes that this could help provide more opportunities to students and help them become better prepared to enter the workforce. Back to you, Katie.
Thanks, Mary. Now we're going to go to Juana, who discusses opportunities, trends, and positive practices surrounding adults with disabilities. Juana.
Thanks, Katie. Adults with disabilities are either unemployed or underemployed. There is a 10.5% unemployment rate for people with disabilities, while the unemployment rate for people without disabilities declined 4.6%. 34% of adults with a disability are employed part-time. People with disabilities are excluded from the workforce because there is a social stigma. Therefore, they have lower education rates and higher rates of poverty, which adds to the difficulties of finding a job because they are disabled. Because of all their challenges, they usually have limited opportunities. 65% of students with disabilities graduate high school each year compared to 86% of students without disabilities, according to the CBS News. Companies refuse to give the opportunity to adults with disabilities to join the workforce. Even though the civil rights law, American Disabilities Act, ADA, improved physical access to public spaces and legal protections, it does not have the power to remove the attitudinal barriers that society holds. Researchers from Rutgers University conducted a study that determined that applicants with disabilities receive fewer responses from employees, even when the disabilities do not interfere with their work. People with disabilities are rapidly joining the workforce with the help of businesses and becoming more accessible to people with disabilities. Prestige companies are leading the way to give people with disabilities to join the workforce. Employers hiring, accommodating, and training and recognizing certain skills will benefit their company, and that shows that adults with disabilities are and can be successful employees. The benefits include economic growth, more businesses being open to see beyond their disabilities, and for a person to reduce their dependence on government-funded programs. Of the 110 companies that participated in the 2017 Disability Equality Index, 68 earned a 100% rating in recruitment and engagement efforts of people with disabilities. Fortune 500 companies such as CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Chase, Pepsi, UPS, Ernst & Young, and Starbucks hire people with disabilities. Under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, states receive $17 billion in federal funding to help people with employment barriers get jobs. Now back to you, Katie.
Although we have come very far in providing fair opportunities for people with disabilities, we still have a long way to go. A steady career provides a sense of purpose and independence for all people, including those with disabilities. These individuals are capable of being positive members of our society if we give them a chance. Thank you for joining us today on INST Channel 210. Tune in next week to find out how to prepare for your next ARD meeting. Thanks and get 'em. Adults with disabilities are either unemployed or underemployed, so I already read this. Were employed. In contrast, the percentage of employment I'll just start from the own disability.
When you're ready.
Okay, wait, keep on going. How are these challenges? Sometimes it makes it more difficult for those with physical handicaps. This doesn't make sense. For not always. This doesn't make sense.
Okay, so
known as Project Search has begun being implemented.
hold on.
Ready.
I'm ready.
People with disabilities, while the unemployment rate it's going to stop. Disabilities. While the unemployment rate for people without disabilities declined 4%. The benefits include economic growth, more businesses being open to see beyond their disabilities, and for a person to reduce their dependence on government-funded programs. Can you stop? For funding to help people with employment. Barriers, oh God. States receive $17 billion in federal funding to help people with employment barriers get jobs. Now, back to you, Katie.
Into the workforce. So, okay. I give her training that they do so that they can be successful members of the workforce and be when I was interviewing the people at Brazos Valley Center for Independent. So basically that's the gist of it. Thank you, Katie. Back to you.
All right. Ready when you are. Action.
Okay, hold on.
Say thanks, Katie.
I gotta think
Thanks,
about how to
Katie.
start. Okay. Thanks, Katie. Okay. Graduate. They must be able to self-advocate and do graduate. They must be able to self-advocate and okay. Ms. Glass said
I wasn't ready.
advocate, not advocate. Okay. Must be able to self-advocate. Did I say it wrong again?
You did. Oh. Can we talk about the styles? So classy. You're classy. Look at you. The perfume, jackets. Yeah. I just want to say, this is the best thing I've ever made.
If We're not gonna have to do it in class. I'm sorry.
Break my microphone.
It's okay. It's all good.
Hey, Katie. Are you insecure about your height?
Yeah.